Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about the importance of doing a health check before you're starting any diet, especially on a carnivore diet, and also doing your own self-study and understanding of the research around it. So I think once in a while you will hear from the social media of people who says that they have a heart attack, a stroke, or maybe the doctors, after looking at their heart, decided to give them a stent because they have like 90% blockage or 70% blockage, right? Then they need a stent. In some of the cases, the person may panic and decided to switch their diet because they may feel that, oh, the high saturated fats and maybe even with a high LDL may be causal to their problems. But a lot of times, if you look at cases like that, we realize that these are the people who do not know the health conditions before they started the carnivore diet. They just jump into it and feeling that that is probably something that will help them with whatever problems they have, right? And the other thing is they also did not do their own self-study or educate themselves a bit more about the role of saturated fats and the studies out there, whether they good studies or bad studies, especially on high LDL. I think most of the so-called keto doctors or carnivore doctors out there always get these questions: help, 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 my LDL is high, what should I be doing? I think this problem stems from people who just jump into the carnivore diet without understanding or the whole thing, without looking through what people has gone through and understanding the health aspects from there. A case study: recently, one of the YouTubers who has about 100k subscribers, she's a lady about, I guess, above 50. Her YouTube channel is more talking about beauty and stuff like that, but she has been on a keto diet and a carnivore diet, and mostly high fat keto and high fat carnivore diet, and she had a stroke about 1 year after her carnivore diet. She didn't blame it on the carnivore diet for sure, but and also at the same time, as she mentioned on her channel, she had consulted with at least two to three cardiologists on why she may have gotten a stroke, because she didn't have any plaques or atherosclerosis around her heart. So none of them could give a definite answer. Some commenters were pointing to the fact that might be due to certain side effects of the vaccines, but we are not going there today. So despite that, because she was on a high saturated fats diet and I think her LDL is high, I'm not too sure, or maybe more marginally high, she decided to so-called do her own research and move on from a carnivore diet to a vegan diet. I think this is one of few rare cases where we see a movement this way. Most of the movements for carnivore diet are people who have been on the vegan diet for a long time, and they had major issues, and that's why they switched to a carnivore diet. This time around is a carnivore diet to a vegan diet. Not that it's not possible, but you know, it's there. So good luck to her. However, I like to point out that I think she did not do her research properly before jumping into the carnivore diet, or even before taking up a high fat low carb diet for that matter. And that's why she panicked and decided to so-called do her research at the last minute while switching to a vegan diet. And I mean, if you look at the literature out there, if you need to find anything damning about saturated fats and high LDL, I think the vegan diet is probably the best outcome. So once you have an idea that saturated fats may cause you problems, and you will find the research out there that supports those conclusions. But whether or not those research are good research, whether there are nuances to those research, again, that's for debate. So I think that it's important for anybody to beginning on a carnivore diet to watch some, at least watch through the experiences of people on a carnivore diet, and try to understand all the different issues that they have raised, like, oh, what happens if what's happened if I have too much saturated fats? What happens if my LDL is high? Should I be worried about that? What are the what are the counter arguments, and what are the arguments against and for saturated fats and high LDLs? And from there, I think you can have a better understanding about why you're moving into a carnivore diet, and at least for that matter, you should not be worried about the diet you're eating, which generally is high in fatty meats, and you may see your LDL rise, and so you do not panic for that matter. So the second point I like to make is that people who are jumping onto carnivore diet, or for that matter even low carb diet, they don't do a baseline of their health before they move to that. Now, in Singapore, I guess in this part of Southeast Asia, I don't think there is a lot of keto friendly or even carnivore friendly doctors around. And so the problem with that is that let's say 1 or 2 years down the road, you need to do an executive health check, or you need to do your own health checks for some other reasons, and they may find certain markers like your LDL is high, even though you have lost your weight, you have very good HbA1c and blah blah blah, so on and so forth. They may push you to go for a statin because it's damn high, and you do not have, if you don't do your proper research, you will be scared, right? You'll be worried, and you will be coaxed maybe, or maybe maybe the doctor may instill enough fear in you that you may decide to go on a statin treatment. I'm not saying that you should not go for a statin. It's really up to you. These are all individual choices. If you feel that going on a statin to lower your LDL is better for your health outcome, and you have done your research, I think good luck to you. Go ahead, right? So having a baseline of your health is very important as you start the carnivore diet. This will also help you to track your trends of your health markers over time, and because you want to know if your health markers are getting better or getting worse. If it's getting worse, then maybe something wrong you are doing in your carnivore diet. You may need to tweak something, or maybe even give up that diet altogether, or give up eating the carnivore altogether, because it's making you worse, making you fatter. Your HbA1c has skyrocketed instead. Your fasting glucose is like way sky high, even though you're only eating meat, right? Things like that. You might be an outlier, you do not know, without having all these measurable outcomes. Okay, so for your blood works or for your health checks, what would I think would be very important, or what would I recommend you to do or to take? I think the very first measurement would be something called a CAC scan, or CAC score, which is your coronary artery calcium score. This is a measurement of the calcium deposit on your heart. It's an MRI scan. It costs about $300. You can have an insurance paying for it. The MediShield, you can pay for it, or your insurance may pay for it. But you will need the GP recommendation to do a CAC scan. Generally, I guess if you are above 45 or 50, I'm not too sure, it's quite easy to tell them, hey, you want to have a look at you want to do a CAC score to see the condition of your heart. I think they can easily write a letter to help you with that. Because if you don't have a recommendation, I don't think it's claimable. Yeah, but anyway, back to the story. You need to do a CAC scan to look at what's the starting point of your heart, or the coronary arteries of your heart. You want to know what numbers you're getting, right? If the problem is that if it's too high, if 100 or 200 or 300 or 1000, you may want to look at yeah, doctors may panic and you may need to go seek treatment first, but continue with your carnivore diet. I don't know, it's up to you. The other, if it's not a CAC scan, it's a CT angiogram, which is again similar, but this is a more precise and probably more detailed imaging of your heart, right? And that will also show you some soft plaques if you have any. The CT angiogram is normally done by the cardiologist, whereas the CT scores or CT scan, sorry, CAC score is done by an imaging lab. So on the cardiology side, you probably have to pay more for that. And the reason why I think that we should all have a heart scan before we start a carnivore diet, because if you look at all the literature around there, as long as you're eating high fats and if you're high LDL, all the literature out there says that you have a high risk of getting heart disease, which is atherosclerosis for at least one of them, right? So how do you know that going on carnivore diet will not increase your risk? Of course, when you do a research and if you have done your research, I think you will have some confidence about it, but I think it's still prudent to do the heart scan. Most people don't know about it because doctors are so preoccupied with just one value, the LDL, right? And they assume that because you have high LDL, you will have a problem with your heart. Anyway, so the most important for me as a basic health marker is to get a CAC scan or a CT angiogram. I actually did both, right? Not before I started, because I only found out more about it about 2-3 years later, right? And so I did my CAC scan on about 3 years later, and actually 1 year later I had a CT angiogram because of some other health checks that I did, and then 2 years later I did another CAC scan. Anyway, that's one of it. There's of course your basic lipid panels. I think you need to do it. Your LDL, HDL, total cholesterol, your triglyceride, which is very important, and your fasting glucose. What you want to include is fasting insulin if it's possible, and actually more important apart from that is your HbA1c. So I'm quite surprised that HbA1c is generally only recommended, or doctors would normally ask you to do a HbA1c test if they think that you're pre-diabetic or diabetic. I think that is such a wasted opportunities, because I think most people have high HbA1c out there even before they're showing that they're pre-diabetic. Okay, so that's the lipid panels that you want to do. Of course, the next one is probably just your regular kidney functions and your liver function test, which includes your EGFR, your urine test, and your liver functions like inflammation markers like your GGTs, ASTs, and stuff like that. Okay, I think for normal health tests, you should get that in your checks. This will help you to look at whether your kidneys are degrading over the course of your carnivore diet, and same thing, your liver, whether is there new inflammation coming because you're eating your carnivore diet, or is it getting better from your fatty liver, right? And the third one sorry, I have like CAC, you have your lipid panels, you have your kidney and liver function test, and then the last one is probably just your inflammation markers, which is your HS-CRP and your homocysteine values. This is not common, I think, if you just ask for a regular health check, but I think it's good to include because these markers will show how well your body are handling inflammation or not having inflammation over the course of your new way of eating. Okay, so remember, CAC score or CAC scan or CT angiogram for your heart, that is probably priority number 1 before you start a carnivore diet. And then your lipid panels, including HbA1c, your standard liver and kidney function test, and your inflammation marker test, which is your HS-CRP and homocysteine. These are just basic. There are a lot more other markers and a lot more other stuff that you may want to test later on. But I think for basic, these are the things you should have. And what about tracking? So to track in general, I think what you're looking for are trends. Are you trending? Is your trend showing improvements, or if your trend showing getting you to a worse state? So a single value in general are only informative if those values are very high. So for example, if you have HbA1c of 10, you know that you have very bad dysfunction with your glucose metabolism, right? You want to look at your trend 6 months down the road. So in 6 months down the road, if these are bad markers, you want to see whether did they improve over the 6 months. Has the value dropped over the 6 months? And another 6 months later, you may want to do another test. So my recommendation is for somebody starting on a carnivore diet is to do a baseline test, do a 6 months follow-up, and subsequently 1 year later another follow-up. This will give you a good trending line. Look at how your health has progressed over that 1 year. Subsequently, how often you want to do your blood test again is really up to you. Generally, the recommendation from us would be about once a year. Sometimes I miss it and I do twice every 2 years later, because I know that it doesn't move around too much, right? But so that all these tests cost money, and I'm not too sure if insurance will pay for you, especially in Asia here, Singapore. I don't think insurance pay for just regular health checks unless you're sick, right? So they do cost money, and you may not be able to afford you may not be able to afford too much tests for it. So deal with it according to how do the number of tests that you can. If you cannot do a CAC or your CT angiogram because they are expensive, but again, CAC score is paid by insurance. It can be paid by insurance, is recommended by a doctor. So I think at least you don't have to pay for that, right? CT angiogram is probably maybe some copay or something like that. So yeah, which is why I recommend a CAC score bare minimum. Okay, so that's what I have for today. I hope you guys out there have a good day and good health ahead. I will talk a bit more about the individual markers that I'm recommending for you to test, so that you have a more better in-depth view of what all these markers means, or what do they do. Okay, and hey, okay, thank you for listening.